Welcome to today's discussion, where we explore one of the most profound teachings of Buddhism, non-attachment. At first glance, non-attachment may sound like an abstract, even unattainable concept. After all, we live in a world constantly bombarded by desires, expectations, and attachments. We're encouraged to acquire more, achieve more, and hold on to what we think defines us. But what if I told you that non-attachment doesn't mean giving up everything or becoming indifferent to the world? Instead, it's about understanding that true freedom comes not from clinging to the fleeting, but from learning to let go. Now, let's dive deeper. What does non-attachment really mean in the context of Buddhist teachings? In Buddhism, non-attachment is often described as the wisdom of letting go. It's not about detaching from people or things entirely, but rather freeing yourself from the emotional weight that comes from holding onto them too tightly. Think of it like holding a heavy stone in your hand. The longer you grip it, the more your hand hurts. But if you open your hand and let the stone fall, the pain disappears. Non-attachment is that release, the ability to live in the present without being chained by the past or anxious about the future. But here's the thing, non-attachment isn't as easy as it sounds. In fact, it can seem downright impossible, especially when we live in a world that constantly tells us we need more to be happy. We're conditioned to believe that if we just have the right job, the right relationship, or the right things, then we'll find happiness and peace. However, this external search often leaves us feeling unfulfilled, stressed, and emotionally overwhelmed. So how does non-attachment connect with emotional control and maintaining calm? Here's where the true power of this practice comes into play. Think about your emotional responses to the world around you. Every time you experience frustration, anxiety, anger, or fear, you're reacting to something. You might feel like you have no control over these emotions, that they just happen to you. But in reality, these emotions are often fueled by your attachments, to a certain outcome, to an ideal, to the idea of how things should be. Non-attachment teaches us to observe these emotions without reacting to them, to understand that they are temporary and not inherently ours to hold onto. Imagine you're driving on a busy road. Someone cuts you off, and you feel your heart race and your body tense up. The immediate instinct is to react, to get angry or frustrated. But what if, instead of reacting, you simply noticed the anger rising in you, acknowledged it, and let it pass like a cloud in the sky? Non-attachment gives you the ability to pause, observe your emotions, and then choose how to respond, rather than letting your emotions control you. This approach doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing your feelings. Rather, it's about creating space between the stimulus and your reaction. It's about understanding that emotions, like all things, are impermanent. The anger you feel in the moment may seem intense, but it's not permanent. It will pass. And the more you practice non-attachment, the more you can maintain that calm and clarity, even in the face of stress or emotional turmoil. Buddhism teaches that by letting go of attachment, we can live more peacefully. We stop seeing ourselves as a victim of our circumstances, and instead, we take control of how we respond. We no longer react to the world with fear, anger, or greed, but instead, we learn to live with a sense of peace, contentment, and freedom. Non-attachment allows us to fully embrace life, not as a series of struggles or challenges to overcome, but as an experience to be lived with awareness and balance. In the next segment, we'll explore specific Buddhist practices that help cultivate this non-attachment in our everyday lives. These practices are designed to help us detach from our habitual emotional responses, bringing us closer to a state of inner calm and peace. Stay with me as we uncover how Buddhist wisdom can transform the way we handle stress and navigate the ups and downs of life. Let's dive deeper into how non-attachment can truly help us manage our emotions and maintain calm. We all know that emotions can often be overwhelming. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where your emotions took control, and before you knew it, you were reacting in a way that you later regretted? We've all been there. It's a part of being human. But what if I told you that there's a way to gain mastery over those emotions instead of letting them control us? Buddhism offers a powerful solution through the practice of non-attachment. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional roller coaster that comes with attachment. When we're attached to something, whether it's a person, a situation, or even an outcome, we become vulnerable to the emotional highs and lows that follow. Think about it for a moment. How often do we tie our happiness to external things? A promotion, a relationship, the way others perceive us. The problem is, all of these things are temporary. And when they change, we feel the emotional pull. One key example of this is attachment to our identity. We all have an image of who we are, how we want to be seen, or how we want others to view us. But what happens when this image is threatened? When someone challenges our beliefs, questions our decisions, or points out our flaws? We experience emotions like pride, fear, and insecurity. These emotions can rise up suddenly, often clouding our judgment and making us react impulsively. When we're attached to the idea of being right, or the need to be seen in a particular light, our emotional responses become out of control. But here's the good news: through the practice of non-attachment, we can break free from these emotional chains. By letting go of our attachment to how we see ourselves or how we want others to see us, we can create the space to respond to situations with clarity instead of reacting impulsively. Imagine being in a tense situation, one where your emotions are building up, and instead of snapping back or getting defensive, you take a deep breath, pause, and simply observe what's happening. In that moment, you realize that you don't need to protect your ego or defend your image. You don't need to cling to that attachment because it's not who you truly are. One of the core practices that help in achieving this level of emotional control is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to be present with your emotions, thoughts, and experiences without judgment. It's about noticing what's happening inside you without immediately reacting to it. This practice helps us create space between the stimulus and our response, allowing us to choose how we respond rather than being driven by impulse. When you practice mindfulness, you start to see your emotions as just that, emotions. They don't define you, and they don't need to control you. You begin to realize that emotions like anger, frustration, or sadness are just temporary states. They don't last forever, and they don't have to dictate your actions. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by these emotions, you observe them with detachment. You acknowledge their presence, but you don't attach yourself to them. This is where the real power of non-attachment lies. It allows you to experience emotions without becoming consumed by them. You don't need to cling to them, nor do you need to push them away. You simply let them be. And in doing so, you regain control over your emotional responses. When we stop reacting from a place of attachment, we stop giving our emotions the power to control us. Instead, we become the observers of our emotional landscape, responding with wisdom and clarity, rather than being pulled along by the tides of frustration or anxiety. It's important to note that emotional control through non-attachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It's not about shutting yourself off from the world or from your feelings. It's about finding balance, allowing yourself to feel without being overtaken by those feelings. It's about letting go of the need to control or possess, which frees you from the emotional turbulence that often comes with attachment. For example, let's say you've been working hard on a project, and despite your efforts, things aren't going as planned. Normally, this would trigger frustration, maybe even anger, as you become attached to the outcome you wanted. But through mindfulness and non-attachment, you can step back, observe your emotions, and accept the situation for what it is. Instead of reacting impulsively, you choose a calm, thoughtful response, which allows you to navigate the situation with greater peace and clarity. This practice is a powerful tool for maintaining calm in all areas of life, whether it's work, relationships, or just everyday challenges. By letting go of the attachment to specific outcomes, we can experience life as it is, without constantly striving for something that's always just out of reach. We can embrace the present moment, find peace in it, and respond to the world from a place of emotional balance. In the next part, we will explore how non-attachment not only helps us manage our emotions, but also how it can enhance our overall well-being. We'll discuss how letting go can lead to a life of greater peace, inner calm, and happiness. Stay tuned as we continue on this journey towards emotional freedom through the wisdom of Buddhism. Mindfulness plays a pivotal role in the Buddhist practice of emotional regulation and maintaining calmness. It's an approach that allows us to truly live in the present moment. When we talk about mindfulness in the context of Buddhism, we are talking about a profound awareness, an awareness that involves observing our thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations without becoming entangled in them. It's about being fully present, and in doing so, creating the space to observe our emotions from a distance, rather than reacting automatically. In our everyday lives, how often do we react impulsively to our emotions? We feel anger rising, anxiety building, or sadness creeping in, and suddenly, we're swept away by them. But with mindfulness, we learn to break free from this cycle. It's a practice that empowers us to recognize our emotional states without judgment, simply observing them as they are, rather than allowing them to dictate our actions. This mindfulness gives us the power to choose how we respond, instead of being trapped by emotional triggers. It's like standing outside the storm of our emotions, watching them swirl and pass, rather than being caught in their wind. The deeper beauty of mindfulness lies in understanding the impermanent nature of all things, including our emotions. In Buddhism, one of the core teachings is the insight of impermanence, that everything, including our emotional states, is transient. Emotions don't stay with us forever, and just like the clouds in the sky, they come and go. The feelings of anger, sadness, or anxiety that we experience are not fixed, they are temporary. Mindfulness helps us see this truth clearly. By embracing this awareness of impermanence, we begin to realize that our emotions are not permanent fixtures within us. They are fleeting, changing, and ever evolving. This understanding is deeply connected to the Buddhist teaching of non-attachment. Non-attachment doesn't mean we suppress or ignore our emotions. It means we don't hold onto them, we don't let them define us, and we don't let them grow into something larger than they are. Non-attachment is about observing and accepting emotions without clinging to them, without identifying with them. It's about allowing them to rise and pass, like waves in the ocean, without trying to control or suppress them. When we are attached to our emotions, we fuel them. We make them bigger, we allow them to take root, and we let them affect our actions and our mindset. But when we practice non-attachment, we let go. We understand that emotions are like visitors, they come, and they go. Think of mindfulness as the lens through which we see the impermanence of our emotions clearly. It helps us stay grounded in the present, giving us the clarity to make conscious choices rather than reactive ones. And when we combine this mindfulness with the wisdom of non-attachment, we begin to build a powerful framework for emotional regulation. We can face challenging emotions, such as frustration or fear, and observe them without allowing them to control our behavior. Instead of reacting impulsively, we choose how to respond. We choose to maintain our calm, to act with kindness and patience, and to stay grounded in the present moment. This practice can transform the way we interact with the world and with ourselves. It's not about eliminating emotions, but rather about changing our relationship with them. When we approach emotions with mindfulness and non-attachment, we stop being slaves to them. Instead of allowing anger to escalate or sadness to overwhelm us, we see these emotions for what they are: temporary experiences that arise and fade. We give ourselves the space to breathe, to reflect, and to respond with clarity, rather than being swept away by the tides of emotion. Buddhist teachings emphasize that we are not our emotions. They are part of our human experience, but they do not define us. When we practice mindfulness and non-attachment, we can experience our emotions fully and still remain in control. We don't have to act out of fear or frustration. We can observe, understand, and let go, which is the essence of emotional freedom. In the end, mindfulness and non-attachment are about creating a life of peace and balance. It's about cultivating the ability to stay calm in the face of challenges, to be present with our emotions without being ruled by them, and to live each moment with awareness. As we embrace this practice, we build a foundation of emotional resilience. We learn to navigate the ups and downs of life with grace, knowing that, just like our emotions, everything is temporary and peace is always within reach. In conclusion, the Buddhist concept of non-attachment isn't about disconnecting from life or becoming indifferent to our emotions. It's not about turning off our feelings, ignoring our desires, or pretending to be unaffected by the world around us. Instead, it's about achieving a profound sense of freedom, the freedom to live fully and experience life with depth, without being controlled by our emotions, attachments, or fears. Non-attachment offers a new way of living. It doesn't mean we don't care, it means we don't cling. We can still love, desire, and engage with life, but we do so without holding on too tightly. When we practice non-attachment, we create space between ourselves and our emotions, between ourselves and our desires. This space gives us the freedom to experience life fully while maintaining a sense of peace and balance, no matter what comes our way. Instead of being swept away by the waves of emotion, we learn to surf the waves with mindfulness and awareness. Emotional freedom comes from the ability to experience emotions without allowing them to dictate our actions or control our thoughts. The more we practice mindfulness and non-attachment, the more we create this space. It's like watching a storm from a distance, knowing that it will pass. When we are not attached to our emotions, we allow ourselves to feel them without being overwhelmed. We feel sadness, but we don't identify with it as who we are. We feel anger, but we don't let it consume us or dictate how we respond. We experience joy, but we don't cling to it, knowing it too is temporary. When we live in this way, we no longer need to be slaves to our desires or our past experiences. We no longer need to be held captive by the fears that have plagued us, or the mistakes we've made. By practicing non-attachment, we learn that we are not our emotions. Our emotions are visitors that come and go. They do not define us. We are the awareness that watches them pass by, without becoming entangled in them. The next time you feel overwhelmed by emotions, whether it's anxiety, frustration, or sadness, try this simple practice. Take a deep breath. Give yourself permission to pause and observe your feelings, just as they are, without judgment. See them as they arise, acknowledge them, and then let them pass. This is the key. Allow them to come and go without holding onto them. As you practice this, you'll be amazed at how much calm follows. You will experience emotional freedom, a sense of lightness and clarity. It's important to remember that this isn't about achieving perfection. None of us can be perfectly detached, and that's okay. It's about progress. Every time we practice mindfulness and non-attachment, we move a little closer to emotional freedom. The more we practice, the more we begin to live in alignment with the wisdom of the Buddha. We start to see that peace isn't something we chase, it's something that arises when we let go of our attachments. So as you continue on your journey, keep practicing. Stay mindful, stay present, and remember that emotional freedom is available to you right now. It's not about never feeling emotions, but about being able to feel them without being controlled by them. It's about embracing life fully, with all its joys and challenges, while remaining anchored in the calm and clarity that comes from non-attachment. Embrace the peace that comes with letting go. It's always there, waiting for you to discover it. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Buddhist wisdom. Keep practicing, stay mindful, and let peace be your guide.